Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gillcast. You might be listening to this on the Sports Grid Fantasy Football Podcast or the ROTOGRINDERS Daily Fantasy Football feed. I am Davis Maddock. I am joined by my boys, Nate Noling, Sammy Reed. Bad news, just if you're the type of person who only tunes into the show when we lose, not going to be the show for you. It was a print fest for the boys today, although I think that we will actually have some things to argue about, which I think is I actually think that's what people really like, and we tend to argue more when we lose. Nate, how'd the day go, bud?
It was a solid one. Yeah, it was. I really wasn't concerned in cash at all, at all. So felt good all weekend. GPP wasn't great, but yeah, it was a good weekend. It was a good summer.
Yeah, I mean, too much Dak and GPP, too much Mahomes and GPP, which was weird. You know, I thought that, Mahomes had 21 at half, and I was like, it's going to be nuclear. And I think they had something like 90 yards of total offense in the second half. Like it was terrible. Mr. Whirling Dervish, Sammy Reed. This is my favorite part of our three man is that Sammy has the worst DK name of all time. How'd it go, bud?
Having to type that into the invite every week is just so dumb.
I wish I could change it. When I first, because that was my original online poker screen name. And so when I first made my DK account, I'm just oh yeah, let's keep that going. It's been good luck for me so far. And now it's I'd just rather be Sammy Reed to track the fishes like Davis Maddock does. I feel like this was a good day because we all printed, and that was awesome. But overall, pretty tough day for our brands. Nate did not play Darren Waller. I, again, blanked out at tight end, which is, just
it's becoming your thing. You haven't had a good low – you didn't even play Jordan Reed. You've really not had a good tight end take yet.
Yeah. Not at all. And you're winning money, and that's pretty anti-brand as well, Davis. So
I'm winning money. Dak broke his ankle, and the Chiefs lost to the Raiders at home. Just a catastrophic day for the brand.
So 2020 continues to throw us a lot of surprises.
Yeah. All right. So let's start at quarterback. Nate, you and I both played Deshaun Watson. The only other guy I considered was I maybe gave half a second of thought to the guy that Sammy played, but then the other guy I thought about was Daniel Jones, and I'm wondering if you also were considering Daniel Jones.
I did. I considered both Bridgewater and Jones, and then I realized the Deshaun thing. Salary was weird this week, and I actually felt like I had room to pay at quarterback, and I just thought Deshaun had a much higher ceiling than those guys, even though per dollar wise, those guys ranked out as better plays, But yeah, I ended up with Deshaun. But I thought Jones or Bridgewater was fine. Obviously, results.
If we want to go mentally weak, I thought there was a little bit of we hate BOB. We want to put up 50. I want to run. I want to throw bombs. I want to play fast. And that's not exactly what happened. They didn't play super fast, but they scored on 6 of 9 drives, and the 2 drives that they didn't score on after the first drive were turnovers. So they scored basically on all of their drives except for the opening drive. It was a very solid performance by them. So I will say, though, mentally strong of Sammy to play Teddy Bridgewater, because I know a lot of people touted Teddy Bridgewater, but, in double-ups, Teddy was really not that owned at all. He was not a chalk guy. At least I don't think. At least he wasn't in my games.
He was 20% in cash. So, yeah, I mean, certainly, I think Watson was really popular. I actually, I had this weird thing all week where, I thought Watson was a really good play, and then I just saw Dak at 500 more, and I'm like, man, if I'm going to pay up for quarterback, I'd kind of just like to play Dak Prescott instead. Obviously, he had a catastrophic injury, which was just gnarly as balls, and they kept showing, slow motion replays, which was really awful. I don't know why they did that, but, did you guys feel that way? Were you hey, I'm fine with that? Or were you gosh, I really want to find 500 more to get up to, the elite level of QB?
No, because I think Watson is that level when the offense is like
without Bill O'Brien, he's just
just when the play calling is not even good, but just normal. Like when it's just a normal, like very vanilla NFL offense. And actually, I mean, as we saw today, when Brandon Cooks is playing like old Brandon Cooks and not old decrepit Brandon Cooks, like when we're getting a B+ performance from Brandon Cooks, like I think I consider Deshaun to be, the 6th best, 7th best quarterback in fantasy or something like that.
Yeah, I also think if we just look at the last couple of weeks, I think what Deshaun has gone through and then what Dak has gone through, Dak's like everybody assumes Dak's going to continue to throw 50 times a game, and it's just like that was not.
And it won't happen for sure.
That was not going to happen, and then Deshaun wouldn't continue to perform as bad as he has. So like I just thought it was a great chance to buy like mean reversion and save dollars, and I thought. So that's why I was on it. I didn't think Dak was a bad play, but too many people just assume that like this new reality through 4 games is like going to continue. And it's just like, people don't know how to look at historical percentages and talk about like averages returning. So that was an easy sell high opportunity there.
Yeah. I mean, I would not, it wouldn't have been Dak that I would have played. It would have been Mahomes. Mahomes would have been, he would have been the guy that I would have paid up for. I don't even actually know how many fantasy points did you guys can tell I had no GPP sweats today at all. Cause I don't even know how many fantasy points Daniel Jones had.
Daniel Jones had 9.18.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. There were no touchdowns coming from Jones. They called the Slayton touchdown back, which was just like such incredible tilts. It was like this BS. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was like this BS like offensive PI call on a rub route that like wasn't even an offensive PI. And he would add a touchdown to Slayton, which cost me a decent amount of GPP dollars.
That would have been that would have been good for me in GPP, but it wouldn't have been like. Yeah, I mean, I just didn't have any realistic sweats today, like because I didn't play Claypool, and too much Clyde Edwards-Helaire and stuff.
Okay, Mahomes, I don't think I looked at Mahomes at all this week. I think Mahomes' 2020 numbers, like not his efficiency numbers, but like the volume underlying numbers have made me like think Mahomes is overpriced. His ADOT and just the way he's been throwing this year doesn't look to be the same Mahomes of old. And I'm not saying that he personally has regressed, but it's just I did not even consider Mahomes. It was
I think it's Edwards-Helaire. Man, if he goes down like CMC, that team's just going to get a whole lot better.
I now officially believe this. Like he is crushing their offense.
So are you guys all like publicly taking the L and giving me the W on this one finally after like 3.5 weeks?
No, because eventually they're gonna start to use him like Damian. They will stop running on first down. They will throw him wheel routes and it'll get fixed. And it'll take them a little bit to get there.
So eventual usage. That's kind of what even though currently he's not being used that way, just continue to play him until.
Hey, I didn't play Clyde Edwards-Helaire today.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he ended up getting down. I did play Clyde Edwards-Helaire because he was like the starting running back on a team with like a massive implied team total, and he gets like all the work and stuff. But that didn't work out because like Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually sucks. So
Sammy's just letting too many seasonal drafts like enter into his mindset.
The thing is he's still gonna be fine. Like he's still going like
targets, Nate. How can you?
Yeah.
Well, obviously this game, like for the Chiefs, I think you almost have to throw out. Like it was so outside of like game script. Nobody expected this for them. Like he should not have gotten 8 targets in this game.
What are you talking about? Mahomes threw it 43 times. They scored 32 points. Like other than the fact that the Raiders won, I don't know how off the wall that is for the Chiefs.
Okay, actually, I've been meaning to get this take out, and I didn't want to tweet it. I didn't want to tweet it because I wanted it to be harder for people to come back and mock me if it proves to not be true. I actually think that because Tyreek is only good at like 3 or 4 things, that Watkins is super important to their offense because he is the one who, if you actually like, this is like literally so off brand for me.
Jesus,
so if you
please continue. Please continue.
So if you actually look at what defenses do against Kansas City, they don't put their best cornerback on Tyreek. They put their best cornerback on Watkins, and they force the Chiefs to not do things in a conventional style, right? Like that's why they do so much of the pre-snap motion. That's why they target Kelsey so often, because they don't really have a number one wide receiver, because Watkins plays that role. And so when Watkins goes out, then you have Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle, McCole Hardman, and I forget. There's another guy that they played today as well, trying to do that stuff, and it doesn't work. Like they actually do kind of need Watkins.
Sammy, I don't know how you can say
watch the tape boomer take from Davis Maddock. This is great.
Leaving that awful take aside, I don't even know where to begin with that. Sammy, your take of they literally had an 11 they were favored by 11 at home, and you think that the game script that we saw wasn't should have been projected?
Not the game script, the volume.
Okay, but he should not have gotten those targets. The only reason he had the targets that he did is because they were down and they were throwing the ball.
Nate, Davis just let out one of the all-time worst takes of all time, that Sammy Watkins is a linchpin of the Chiefs' offense.
I did not.
The tape, and you're
I didn't say that.
I mean, Jesus, come on, Nate. You just threw us a gem. You're not going to say anything about this?
I don't even know where to begin with it. First of all, he doesn't believe this take enough to tweet it beforehand because he doesn't want to get roasted.
It's more that I don't want to tweet stuff that's that off brand. I can't tweet stuff that's that off brand, you know?
It would just go Davis. How often do you go back through your tweets and delete dozens of them?
Oh, we've talked about that. I do it all the time.
Does it all the time.
Yeah, do you have an app or a program that searches for
so I did have an app that deleted everything pre 2017. So all my tweets from before then are gone. But
okay, so the sports wonderkin days.
Yeah. But I just have at the end of the day, I'll just go back and look at my tweets that didn't get good interactions and I just delete them.
And I have an app that does the opposite. It saves all of Davis's tweets that don't get any interaction.
It's the opposite of old takes exposed. This is great.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into the running backs we played. Because Nate,
wait, Sammy, I can't because Bridgewater was the most popular quarterback in cash, wasn't he?
He was 20%.
I think he was the most popular.
Yeah, that's 20% is pretty high for a quarterback.
Yeah, I guess I was wrong. I guess I just honestly I was not sweating at all today. I just knew I was going to win, so I didn't really look at my games that much. So I guess I didn't realize he was that popular. I guess also I wasn't on content this week. I took Friday off, so I was not grinding that hard this week. So I guess I didn't realize that Bridgewater was going to be that popular.
Yeah, I think Sammy should talk about the play since most people.
I don't. Honestly, I don't want to say that I was that in love with Bridgewater. I think we all knew that Carolina in general was in a really good spot. Atlanta just has an all-time, most decrepit defense. They have no interest in covering, tackling, rushing the passer. It's all just such a disaster for Atlanta. You guys know Cardi likes dome games. Those are also nice. So really he just fit very well with what I wanted to do construction-wise, what we'll see, both DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson were really popular. I decided not to play either of those guys, but I still wanted plenty of Carolina exposure. And so Bridgewater, both lineup construction wise and price wise, just fit really well. So I knew with Bridgewater and Mike Davis in my lineup, I was going to have exposure to a lot of Carolina points, and I was good with that because there's definitely some just mystery about who Carolina's number one pass catcher is, and I didn't want to get that wrong.
There's no mystery, Sammy. It's Robbie Anderson.
It's Robbie A. I know. You're on the team, and I get it, dude. Robbie's great. He's fantastic. The reality is, both Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore printed today, so yeah, there was no getting it wrong.
So I think I gotta. Well, okay, we're gonna talk about wide receivers later. We'll talk about wide receivers later. Let's talk about running backs because Nate, I'm very happy for you that you made money today. I really need to impart to you how absolutely catastrophically stupid playing David Johnson was. No, literally no excuse for it, dude. No, just so bad.
This is going to be on
bad
brand for me because there will be no L's taken with this. David Johnson was by far
the worst play you could make.
No, he was 5.2. The volume that he had, he projected very similar from a volume standpoint to CEH that everybody wanted to play at what, 6? What was CEH? 6?
Yeah, but you didn't. Yeah, but bro, Kareem Hunt was right there.
Okay, Kareem Hunt was also 6'4". I mean, literally, DJ was $1,200 cheaper than these guys that he projected the exact same volume for. He also actually runs routes as a running back. His ADOT, he has the second most air yards of any running back. He actually gets, like, his targets are not just this, like, at the line of scrimmage targets. He actually runs routes. He actually gets split out wide. And with B.O.B. gone at 5.2, the same reasons you wanted to buy Deshaun Watson, DJ was the play. Obviously, he didn't get there. He only had, missed.
He didn't get there because he's old and slow and terrible, and it's just like, you just got to stop, dude. It's not a healthy decision for you.
So he's old and slow and terrible, yet Mike Davis is now the best running back in the league. Running backs don't matter. You play the volume and let that.
But he doesn't even get good volume though.
He gets the exact same volume as CEH and all these other guys that you were wanting to play at the same price. Or at
Kareem Hunt had like 27 interactions, dude.
What was your projection for Kareem Hunt volume versus David Johnson volume?
I just said I didn't do the projections this week, but I know
he did watch the film and he knows that David Johnson sucks ass, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I do know that David Johnson sucks ass, and that, like, I played him a little bit in tournaments because that's actually a reasonable place to do it. Like, because 18 from a $5,200 running back in the context of like a single entry GPP can actually be okay. But, like, we've actually talked about this on the show a bunch of times. You want to have that crazy 32-point upside from all the running backs you play in cash because one of your other guys might bomb out. And, like, David Johnson's just never, ever, ever getting that.
I don't think you realize how much volume he was getting at 5'2". He was, like...
Bro, I don't think you realize he hasn't had, like, a big game since 2017.
Yeah,
like,
if you want a game log...
It doesn't happen for David Johnson.
That's successful in DFS. It's not. Projecting volume, like, when has Mike Davis ever had a big game?
Last week.
Okay. You don't play game logs. You play for the volume, and David Johnson gets the volume. And at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson overthrew him in the end zone. If he would have had that, he's a 25-point play this week. And then everybody's, like, on him next week at 6K. At 5. I mean,
here's the thing. In, like, an absolute vacuum, and, like, you were just looking at David Johnson, 5,200, whatever, fine. Like, I will grant you that. In an absolute vacuum, it's fine. But when you look at the 2v2 that you made, not only is it so off-brand that you did not play Darren Waller, I think that this Kittle, David Johnson 2v2 over Kareem Hunt and Waller is just – I think it's just egregious, Nate.
David Johnson projected as the best point per dollar play outside of Zeke for me. Houston had the fourth highest team total on the slate, and he was a 5.2 running back at home with this. Like, you will not be able to convince me that David Johnson was a bad play here at 5.2.
Okay, I'm looking at our projections right now. I'm gonna guess. Yeah, okay. We had Kareem Hunt projected for 21. We had David Johnson projected for 17.9.
Okay. Take into account their salary, and I'm guessing your efficiency numbers on DJ are way low because he's been terrible. But if you just look at the volume, don't look at the efficiency projections, look at the volume projections, and I bet they're very similar. And at 5.2, he was a play.
Man.
Yes, I agree.
I can't believe there's a slate with, like, Ezekiel Elliott at home.
Yeah.
And
I took
the Raiders and Kareem Hunt.
The best plays. Zeke
and Mike Davis. And this guy played
DJ.
David Johnson in cash and won. I mean, I'm impressed, Nate.
The best running back plays. DJ, Zeke, and Mike Davis. I played the best.
I wish CH had, like, this is – even though I won money, like, I feel like I've lost because CH did not just absolutely, like, lap –
CEH didn't even outscore David Johnson raw points. Take into account the salary.
I mean, this is such a huge L for me.
And David Johnson literally missed an end zone. Like, there was I mean, Deshaun Watson.
Edwards-Helaire had a receiving touchdown that they called back. Like, I don't want to hear that smoke. Get it out of here.
It was maybe one of the Clyde Edwards-Helaire TD callback was I think actually the softest penalty that's ever been called.
No,
I mean only behind the Darius Slayton callback.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, dude, like this could have been an absolute print fest. Like,
so I do want to talk about my 2v2 because like there's no point in talking about Nate's anymore because he's not willing to admit that there was any process with any fault with that process, so it's not productive.
DJ was a great play.
Okay, I'm gonna mute. Yeah. Okay, so my 2v2 that I looked at for a long time was Sammy Watkins and Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Kareem Hunt and Darius Slayton. I knew that the projections at DR had Hunt and Slayton better, but I mean, projections. It's not like median projections, right? We don't take them.
It's more of an art. You got to feel it out.
It's more of an art, and I think actually what I finally settled on was just like, dude, Hunt. They gave this dude the contract extension when they have Chubb's out of the way. Like they want to give this dude the ball so many times, and that is basically what happened. They had the interception return for a touchdown, which actually was fine because I played the Browns defense. But I had Hunt in FanDuel cash. I'm wondering if either of you considered playing Hunt at all.
Oh, I considered it super hard. It was just like really hard to like figure out where I was going to do it. You know what I mean? Because like Davis, I just thought was a complete lock. There was no way.
Yeah, total. Yeah, he is a stone cold. Like he's first guy in until he gets to be 7,800.
Yeah, I mean, especially against Atlanta, it was just like going to be a print fest. It was a print fest, and so it was really like, do I play Hunt over CEH? And that was really close. I just thought that the Browns game versus Colts rated to be a lot slower and just was not as good of a scoring environment as Vegas and Kansas City. And then it was like Zeke. Dude, I mean, I wanted Zeke against the Cowboys or against the Giants. Like, it was like, and then it was saving the money. Like, what was I going to do the way I constructed my lineup? It was very, very, very close. I probably it was close. I was thinking of playing Hunt over Zeke actually, and then actually playing a real tight end, which I didn't.
That would have been bad. Hunt over Zeke would have been bad. Hunt over CEH would have been sharp.
But it was like
that is what I did.
It was a $300 difference. It didn't matter to me, but I think the way Davis constructed his lineup.
You played Sammy. Not that your team was – I don't think it was bad, but you just played like a weird team. Like your team was not the construction that the regs – like any like – yeah, it's very weird.
Not at all. And we can talk about it kind of holistically, but I've lost like 2 weeks in a row, and I was like tired of just like going with the standard what everyone was doing. I was like, dude, I'm gonna play the best plays this week. Yeah.
Except
I'm gonna play good players is what I'm gonna do.
You remember when Nate sent us a team with McLaurin in it, and I said that Slayton's gonna outscore McLaurin straight up, and he just said LOL.
Didn't account for
Alex. Yeah. Because Kyle Allen's gonna save it.
The game, it would have been fine for McLaurin. For sure.
Do you guys realize that Kyle Allen kept DJ? Like,
oh my god!
DJ Moore that you think
so funny
existed because Kyle Allen kept him going.
The hypothesis of Nate's plays that Kyle Allen had to stay in the whole game.
Terry McLaurin would have been what DJ Moore was, and more.
Dude, this is
more.
Okay, but seriously, Hunt was fine. I had Hunt as like my fourth running back. So if I would have faded DJ, I probably would have gone Hunt or Jacobs over CEH.
Playing Jacobs would have just been a nightmare.
Well, he was better than CEH. So I would have.
Yeah, but that might be true, but he is like the most prayer beads running back ever. Because he's losing work to Booker and Richard. Like Jacobs is not a guy you should ever play on DraftKings.
Yeah, except for week one.
Except for week one when he was 30% owned and got there.
No, his target share is still more than you probably think it is.
I mean, what is it? It's got like maybe 11%.
Yeah, double-digit target share when you're getting 75% of the rushing attempts is exactly what you're looking for. I mean,
he lost 5 targets to Richard and 1 to Booker. I mean, that is a tough scene.
Yeah, I haven't pulled up the numbers on this week, but his target share of the last couple games has been solid enough that you can play him at that price.
Yeah. All right, let's go to wide receiver. I mean, Nate is just not going to take the L. So what's the point? And actually, well, does anyone feel bad about playing Zacchaeus, or is it just like whatever? It's just one of those things.
No, you had to play him. Like,
yeah, I don't feel bad. We probably should have played Cooks and actually put good players into the lineup. But imagine like having to do this show after you've played Cooks for the second week in a row and he blanked.
Well, I just like I knew that people were playing Cooks, right? Like Wiggins played Cooks. Like it was out there, and I saw the team. It was very duped in cash games. It scored. Here, I'll go find it.
Yeah, what was the construction?
100. It was versus my team. It was CEH, Cooks, Kelsey versus Hunt, Slayton, Waller.
So they still played Zacchaeus. I mean, he's...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Zacchaeus was still in there. Yeah.
I was going to say, you couldn't build without the 3K piece. Like, that's what I'm saying. Even if he was regardless of what the outcome was, you needed him to get any of the other plays.
Well, if you played Daniel Jones, you could have played Cooks over Zacchaeus. Which
that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only have room for one scrub receiver in my lineups. So
how like I mean, I guess here I'll go look right now. How many snaps do we think Zacchaeus played?
I mean, I think he didn't play after the first quarter, right?
No, he was out there.
Because like I didn't see him get any targets. Like what happened?
No, he was out there. I don't have snap data yet, but he was out there.
Well, I mean, I'm sure what happened is he's just not very good. Oh yeah, I don't have any snap data yet either.
Yeah. No, I'm joking, of course, but like, yeah, he had 3 targets early. He had a catch early, and it's like, oh, he's well on his way to like a 7-8 target game. This is great. And then they like stopped throwing him the ball. I mean, Matt Ryan. I mean, let's just talk about this. The Falcons are just all time awful. Like Matt Ryan is dust.
Quinn just got fired.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's dust. It's all dust. Atlanta's just complete dust. There was actually a moment at the beginning of the week where I thought I'd play Matt Ryan in cash. And then like sense got a hold of me as the week went on, which was good.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't feel bad about playing Zacchaeus. So I guess, Sammy, this is your floor. This is your opportunity to talk about why you played DeAndre Hopkins, who was like, he had to have been like 2% owned in double ups.
I think he was like 7. Let's see.
Yeah.
Hold on.
You luck
7.7%.
He had 70 receiving yards and a touchdown on their last drive.
And it was unnecessary. Like, you luck boxed that, Sammy. If you didn't have that play, you would have been hosed.
Oh, you guys and your, Deshaun Watson threw an unnecessary touchdown at the end. Like, I don't want to hear it. The reality is it was never a worry. Nuke was always getting there. I just wanted to play a straight alpha. You know what I mean? I was tired of like these beta wide receiver plays, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna play like this awesome wide receiver against this crap ass defense in the Jets, and he's gonna get there. And lo and behold, he got there. I was willing to spend the money. I knew the Carolina guys were in good spots. Like I said, I was just kind of fearful of going with like 3 of them in cash, three Panthers in cash, and then at the end of the day, it was just like, dude, I don't want to pick the wrong guy here. I know that Robbie has been the number 1 all season. But, I mean, we're only through 4 weeks. These things change, and I didn't want to be left holding the bag. Whereas I know that DeAndre Hopkins is like an absolute alpha target monster that has huge upside that a lot of other wide receivers didn't. I knew this would not be popular. I knew people would kind of live in the middle. And I just went for it. And, yeah, he ran pretty good to get it at the end, but he also ran bad to not get it at the beginning. So, DeAndre Hopkins, thanks, buddy.
I mean, he saved you.
He did.
He did.
And I have to give you props for that construction because I literally don't think I had one lineup built with DeAndre Hopkins all week.
Yeah, I don't think most people did. It was just not, and I think, Davis, you told me this, it wasn't an optimal allocation of resources.
I after watching the slate and with full, like, I still think it was not that great.
Which is totally fine.
I thought the Hopkins play was fine. I think what you did at tight end was terrible. Straight like F minus.
I'm willing to take that L. I'm okay with it. I'm just happy DeAndre Hopkins banked 30 DraftKings points.
If I was going with a high price receiver this week, it would have
been Hopkins.
No, it would have been Ridley.
No, it would have been Hopkins for me.
Would have been Ridley for me, and
it wouldn't have been Ridley for me because my hand's in the dirt, and I know that Ridley always has done horribly when he's been listed as questionable before a game. This is like 100%, like universally true. Back to when he was at Alabama, he hates to play with Knicks.
I mean, I just didn't want to play two Atlanta wide receivers. Like, I didn't want to play.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go that route.
How many times did Gurley run the ball in this game? That was
like
it was literally like Dan Quinn was trying to get fired. I think like when they were running out of their own like end zone in the fourth quarter, down 2 touchdowns. It's like, what are we doing here? What's the point?
Yeah, I think Zacchaeus was out I mean, I'm just looking at the wide receiver targets. There was not a lot of targets to go around. I mean, there was. Yeah.
I mean, Ryan threw it 37 times.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just bad, and that team's bad. They're done. They don't care. They don't want anything.
Ridley's still a boss, though, and I think the fact that he did what he did with no touchdown.
I wonder, like, what's Julio's incentive to like come back and play for this team? Like, if you're Julio Jones, it's like AJ Green last year. Like, AJ Green was like, "I'm good, bro. Like, I'm good."
But little did we know that AJ Green isn't good. And
I knew, actually. I spent all offseason telling people that, and then they just kept drafting him in the 7th round. All, millions of dollars literally of high-stakes fantasy football drafts. Just like, you gotta get AJ Green in there.
Yeah, well, Julio went in the 2nd round, so who got the value?
Not on my teams he didn't, bud.
Got to get CEH in the 2nd.
He was a first-round pick,
He was
Nate.
a first-rounder, Nate.
Look, if your first-round pick is just playing games right now, you're ahead of the field. Yeah, like you're lit.
Michael Thomas is like punching people out.
Okay, so I guess obviously I knew.
Slayton.
So I knew that Cooks was a thing for like the sharps, and it was just kind of one of those things where like I spent so much time on the podcast last week berating myself for playing Cooks. I was like, I can't do it again. It's just such a hypocritical moment. And so I just played him in tournaments a little bit. And again, it didn't matter just because I didn't quite have the right mix of guys. But Slayton, I actually thought was just like the nuts because everybody gets there against Dallas. Everybody gets there against Dallas, dude. And he did. He looked great. And he almost beat Cooks. He had a 28-yard touchdown or a 31-yard touchdown called back that would have given him more fantasy points than Cooks. And it
such tilt. I know it was soft. Chalk, but like that was still tilt.
Yeah, Slayton was. Yeah, I think wide receiver wise, for me, I'm surprised none of you guys played Robbie. To me, Robbie, I think, was the first wide receiver.
I had Robbie in for like until probably I want to say like 11, 15, and then I was just like, how stupid am I going to feel when DJ Moore has 11 receptions, 230? It's like, when Julio has that one game a year where he has like 212 yards and a touchdown and you're like, oh, great, I didn't play the Julio game. Like, that's kind of what DJ Moore is like to me. Like, he's a guy who's going to have 1,200 receiving yards for a decade. And once a year, he's just going to load up and he's going to have one of those crazy games. And I really thought that this was the game. But Robbie is the number one. I'm saying it here on the Gillcast. DJ Moore is an extremely good number 2. The Carolina Panthers are way better than the market expected. Teddy's been great. Matt Rule has been a good head coach. Joe Brady has designed some great offensive stuff for them.
And they lucked out getting CMC hurt.
And they look so much better without him. But yeah, DJ Moore is the number 2. Robbie is the number 1.
I was like shocked when I looked at the numbers this week to see just Like when I saw Robbie Anderson in my projections this week, I literally was like, I had to look at things because I was like, there's no way I should be having him this much. But I mean, he's just the number one, and he proved it again this week. He got 13 targets compared to DJ Moore's 5, I think it was. And Robbie is like the first.
Speaking of running hot, DJ Moore.
I know. Robbie literally.
You just take a little out route and nobody wants to tackle you, so you just run.
Seriously,
70
Davis,
yards.
you lucked out with this DJ Robbie.
He just tiptoed down the sideline, buddy. Just a little pitter patter.
First of all, DJ was like a fifth of the ownership that Robbie was. So like you were massively leveraged off the best wide receiver.
I felt cool. I was fine. I knew making that decision that was going to be a leverage point, and I don't like to have like the most duped team. Like I don't mind blocking in some spots, but I don't want to be like, I don't want you. It was week 3, like that team that was like literally like 11% of the massive $25 double up was that team. Like I don't want to have that.
But you were literally leveraged off the best wide receiver play of the day. Like literally Robbie's going to be the highest salary jump next week of any wide receiver. I mean, he was the best play going into it, was the highest owned. Dude, he like, I will guarantee that.
What do you think he's going to be?
Whatever DJ Moore was last year, he's going to be 7K. He's going to be 6.9. He had 13 targets in a.
I will take the under, sir.
Who do they play next week?
He was the highest owned wide receiver on the slate, and he got 13 targets, and he was 5.9. DraftKings is going to price him high 6s, low 7.
The Panthers play the Bears at home next week.
Yeah, I'm going to say
he doesn't go above 6'6". That's my prediction.
I agree.
Regardless, he was the best wide receiver play of the day, and none of you guys had him, and I was shocked. Like, Sammy, talk about your process in fading him. I don't get that. I get Davis is like, I'm just trying to be fancy play. I'll get
it wasn't a fancy play. I also like there's all this element of like trying to learn what we can from 4 games, but then still trying to hold on to some of our priors and everything. But like at this point, I'm just ready to be like, that was wrong. You know, right. Robbie is the number one.
It's definitely a balance. I mean, the reality is, Nate, I thought he was a very good play. I thought DJ Moore was a very good play. I talked about the process, though. I was going to encompass those players by playing Teddy Bridgewater, and I was going to play a guy that I was for sure was an alpha. I know that Robbie A has been a number 1 wide receiver through 4 weeks this year. And I'm not like, dude, Robbie Anderson's bad. Robbie Anderson's a good player. But I didn't believe it hard enough to be like, yeah, I'm just like so confident. I wanted to play Nuke, who I just like knew was just an alpha target hog wide receiver. And, you know, I mean, obviously Robbie was a great play, and he confirmed what you thought about him. So hats off to you. But I just wasn't as confident as you were based on a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Sammy, I think you – like this team, you won, but like I don't know, man. I think fading that Carolina wide receiver spot really felt like a free square.
Yeah,
it was a free square. I mean, he was.
I mean, if you add up the, you know, the ownership from Anderson and DJ Moore, you're talking about like about 80% of teams did that.
Yeah, so all I needed to do was like make sure that Newt got there, you know, and he did. Good.
He was a 56% owned in cash games wide receiver that got 13 targets, the most volume of the slate. So going in, people thought he was the best play of the day, and then he ended up with 13 targets and was the best play of the like. Yeah, I'm just shocked that he was 33% owned in our 3-man.
Well,
now
move on to tight end where I played
freaking Nate is not taking the L Davis, but he's handing him out pretty well. This is very
I mean, imagine Nate playing what $800 more for Kittle than his boy Darren Waller. Like what the hell, dude?
Well, yeah, it was. I just had the salary, and I'm like, I didn't want to step up anywhere else. Like, I already didn't. Like, I wanted to go down at defense already. I didn't even want to play Cowboys D at 31. I wanted to play Texans D, but I don't know.
You already had DJ, and you already had Watson.
Well, yeah, I already had – I didn't really want to step up anywhere. Like, so I ended up with Kittle, and I had Kittle and Waller projected similarly, but –
The crazy thing was Kittle really, like, the worry with him is that they were just going to pound Miami and not really have to throw it because San Francisco wants to run the ball and they want to smash you, and they're content to, like, let Kittle block. But they got the game script that was right for Kittle. They got down big early. And it was like, dude,
CJ came in, and he's still it was watching that game was so tilting that he never got there. And it was just he got 8 targets and just couldn't do anything with them. So that was a huge bummer with Kittle thing, especially when
even if I think Kittle was I played Kittle on FanDuel because he was free. Like I think he might have been less on FanDuel than he was on DraftKings, which is like when they do, it's just classic FanDuel stuff. But why would you play Kittle over Kelsey on DraftKings?
Kittle's I wasn't even considering Kelsey. It was Kittle, Waller, and then Kelsey for me.
Nate, are you anti-Chiefs?
Yeah, do you just hate the Chiefs, bro? What's the deal?
I'm not anti-Chiefs. The Chiefs just spread it out way more than most people understand, and they can use so many different offensive players where these other teams don't.
Do we want to fact check this?
Yeah.
I'm going to fact check this because I'm pretty sure that
we need to pass Nate an L at some point during this podcast.
Yeah, go ahead. The Chiefs. So
heading into this game, Travis Kelce had a 34 divided by 147, had a 23% market share of the team's targets. Right? So that's pretty good.
Is that good?
That's pretty good.
Okay, what did Kittle have?
That's actually a good question. It's harder to do because he missed
Kittle's
games.
Only played,
Kittle's only played 3 games, and one
targets.
of them he had 15 targets of 40. Kittle's target share has been I think 30% plus when he's been on the field this year. Waller's been around 20.
But he hasn't been on the field. He hasn't been on the field with Debo yet until this game.
Waller's been over 27, I think, and you compare that to it's like a roughly 20. Kittle's good or Kelsey's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying the Chiefs can spread it out way more than these other teams, and their target share, if you just look at the distribution, is much more volatile game to game than other teams. Other than Tyreek Hill, who again just gets his upside on efficiency alone, the Chiefs just spread it out. They have so many different guys that they can throw to, where San Francisco just doesn't have that. And Kittle's just when Kittle's healthy, he gets work.
I don't think you're properly factoring in Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, Nate.
That's fair. That's
very legit to me
because I haven't been able to factor that. We haven't. This is the first, but I don't know. You could say Kittle was overpriced in this game because he was coming off.
I don't think he was overpriced. I just think it was fair price, and I think that Kelsey will always score more fantasy points than George Kittle
because he scores touchdowns. Because the Chiefs score a lot of touchdowns. And
they pass. If you're thinking that this game goes how the 49ers want it to go, they throw 22 forward passes.
The thing is, if you're going to fade CEH, you may as well get a guy who's going to score the touchdown.
Yeah, you got to think about how your decisions are linking together, Nathaniel.
Yeah. Correlation, Nate. We don't make lineups on a spreadsheet, bro.
It's more of an art, dude. This would be so much more fun if Nate lost. He's just being yeah, whatever, dude. It's that guy won. It's way more fun. It would be way more fun if he had 96 draft. If he played Daniel Jones and Kittle, this would be way more fun.
McLaurin. Kittle. You know what the big travesty is? Nate always sends us these
the worst teams
lineups. On Thursday. It's just the most insane lineup you've ever seen in your life. And whatever happens by Sunday, he gets it together and makes something decent. And it's just a travesty.
I think I found it. I want to go read because people just they need to know. So this was the team Nate sends. It really was basically the same team.
What?
I thought it was terrible. Okay, never mind. It was
McLaurin over I don't remember the team, but it
Is
was,
McLaurin
over
over
Robbie Anderson?
McLaurin over Slayton and the Raiders defense?
which Raiders did. I mean,
Yeah, they were fine. It doesn't
the
matter.
McLaurin play would have been terrible today, but I didn't make it, so I'm not gonna take an L for that. McLaurin's a boss. I just didn't play him. Like, obviously, I thought like the lineups I'm sending on Wednesday and Thursday are just raw. Like, okay,
Just that raw Terry McLaurin.
dude, seriously, you guys don't like. I don't know what numbers you're looking at. Terry McLaurin is a legitimate boss. Like,
No,
he's a legitimate boss, but playing him at $6,100 on this slate over Slayton, like it just would have been. I know, but it just would have been mind numbing. We just want you to eat an L so bad. Like, we were grasping at anything to just get you to be like, yeah, you know what, guys. It was wrong.
I was wrong about McLaurin with Kyle Allen.
Wait, we haven't even told people what dipshit thing Sammy did at tight end. Nate, tell the people who you played, bud.
All right, here's my time to take an L. I played Schultz at tight end, bro. I played Schultz, and I knew the thing was that the Cowboys would not throw it 57 times every game, and I know, like, as a percentage wise, his target share has not been like that high, but I just wanted a lot of Cowboy exposure, and it made the rest of my lineup work. And I really thought about coming down to Kareem Hunt and going up at tight end. And I was just, I don't know what my thing was, but I really didn't want to come off of Nuke. I was just very convinced that Nuke was going to have a big game. And yeah, so I went with Schultz, and I was like, okay, dude, because the thing was, a lot of people played Evan Ingram, right? Like,
who was I thought play. A rational play. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I thought so too. But at the end of the day, like, I wanted them Cowboys. You know, the Cowboys have been smoking stuff, and Schultz has been pretty involved. And he was not involved, and I paid for my fishy mistake. I'm taking the L. There were a lot of
less
really
receiving yards than Blake Bell.
Yeah, there were a lot of really good tight end plays on this slate. I managed to make none of them. I mean, one catch for 6 yards. That a boy, Sammy. Really, really sharp. Way to work.
Yes, actually, Ingram, massive bailout because he had 2 targets.
Well, yeah, he had a rushing touchdown.
He had a rushing touchdown.
Also had, I don't know if you saw this, he had a long touchdown
call back
on the fake punt or the fake field goal that they really schooled Dallas on. Like, a brilliant play. Like, he was running off the field and then hit along the sideline, and then he was wide open, and they preyed on Dallas's ineptitude, and like one of the linemen just barely didn't get set. Like, that would have been a huge L for me. But yeah, like, I just didn't. I already had Slayton, and I didn't want to go Ingram too and be like, oh yeah, I played 2 New York Giants in cash. Like, that just sounded like a terrible idea.
Like 3 seconds, I looked at a Darren Fells team because I was like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever could have pressed it because I thought that Waller and Kelsey were clearly the guys this week. Because just when you get that 3K wide receiver and then you don't have to play a running back over 8K, like, you should generally be, allocating those funds to get a rational tight end instead of playing. I mean, thank God, like, this Logan Thomas thing is done. Like,
yeah,
good riddance,
I'm so happy about that.
Yeah.
I'm so happy about that. But the reality is, like, I think, obviously, in retrospect, it would have been sharper of me to come down from Hopkins, get to one of the Carolina receivers, and then pay up at tight end. I think that was the standard thing to do. I think it was the sharp thing to do. I went a little bit off the reservation, and fortunately, it worked out.
Yeah, and then I played the Browns defense. Looks like Nate played the Cowboys defense, and you played the Texans defense. That was the decision that most people had in cash, was Texans or Browns. And my logic was, I want all the Houston touchdowns to be like, I want to root for my defense to score, right. And I wouldn't want that if I had the Texans because I have Deshaun, and yeah, so I went with the Browns, and also Phillip Rivers, buddy, Phillip Rivers. To say that this guy is washed would truly be a compliment. I mean, he looks like final form Peyton Manning, like neck surgery, duck. It's terrible, man.
So to say that playing like one of his wide receivers like a T.Y. Hilton in cash.
Yeah,
What would you say about that? If I built a team with 4 wide receivers and I decided to go with T.Y. Hilton as one of those 4.
Well, one thing I would tell you to do is obviously don't do that. But then if you have a guy playing in an early game and then someone else in that same position is playing in a late game, make sure to put the early guy in the position slot and the other guy with the later game in the flex position in case you need a late swap because your team is so bad that you're trailing. I would greatly encourage that for sure.
Just some tips for those of you.
Yeah.
Might have ended with that construction.
Tips for the noobs, for the unsharp, for the squares.
Yeah. So we're recording this a little bit later at night. When do they come out with salaries? Do salaries come out Sunday night still, or is that a thing of the past?
I think it's a thing of the past.
Yeah, I actually kind of stopped looking because the last 2 weeks I got wrecked and I didn't want to open DK anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's NFL Week 6 schedule. Let's see if we can find some stuff. Also, just as we are talking right now, Dalvin Cook just pulled up with a hamstring injury. So if the Vikings aren't on bye, oh my gosh, the Vikings get the Falcons at home next week with probably.
Madison's gonna be like 5K.
I mean, I don't know if how injured Dalvin Cook is, but I know that he went in early, and his team is still playing, and he's not on the field. So I'm assuming.
I mean, that would actually be bad because depending. I mean, I guess they're gonna have time to react to the Dak injury. So Dalton will be,
Oh yeah, let's see who the Cowboys play. The Cowboys. Okay, the Cowboys are on Monday Night Football, and they play the Cardinals at home.
Oh, okay. So
that'll actually be
no main slate action.
That's a bummer because that would be a great place to play.
There are some disgusting games on this slate next week. Like Ravens Eagles will just feature 2 quarterbacks throwing incompletions, just like a battle of incomplete passes. The Ravens are a tough scene, dude. About them?
Are you ever going to play Lamar Jackson this season?
No, but I'll play if they're gonna throw 40 passes every week. I'm just gonna be like Hollywood Brown, 6,300. You are in my lineup. But I mean, so my take is they looked at this game. They're massive favorites. They're winning the entire time. They're never anything in doubt. What if they were just like, dude, Lamar, like you got to figure this out. Like you're playing so bad. You got to go hit some passes, bro. Like you got to stop running. Like we got to try and generate this passing offense. It seems like they're just like trying stuff, and I don't know if that's accurate or not. But like, when is the last time we saw them winning by this many points and throwing 33 passes, dude? Lamar in a win where they had a shutout the entire game until the last drive, threw 37 passes. And he ran the ball twice.
I mean, that's their version of like running the clock out is not running the ball with Lamar Jackson.
I guess, man. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know why they don't turn around and give it to like Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins a bunch in this scenario. But
Hollywood had 10 targets. Mark Andrews had 9. Both of them scored.
I mean, dude, this is ugly. So the Packers-Buccaneers game should be pretty fun. I mean, there are some ugly games here.
And what do you think Rodgers is going to be?
Packers at the Buccaneers. I mean, he'll be expensive. I don't know, 7,600.
We might be back on Jonathan Taylor. They're at home against the Bengals.
Yeah, I would probably play him. Seems like he scored a touchdown today. Good for him.
This is disgusting. I mean, it might be like Fitzpatrick and Cash. They're playing the Broncos.
So, I mean, look at all these gross games. So, Texans, Titans, who knows if that game even happens, right? With all this Titans stuff. Like, Falcons, Vikings, I mean, we'll play Madison probably, I would assume.
Depends what they price.
Who do the Bills play?
The Bills play the Chiefs on Thursday night, but I think that game got moved to Monday night, right?
Dude, it's hard to keep up.
Yeah, I don't know.
I believe that got moved. Josh Kelly maybe, or maybe Justin Jackson, depending on what we see on Monday night, because the Chargers play the Jets at home.
Yeah, that's going to be a Josh Kelly almost certainly type of selection.
I love Kelly.
But what if Justin Jackson gets like 16 carries and 4 targets on Monday night?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm assuming that they're gonna make Kelly like have a significantly higher workload, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, honestly though, for QB, I mean, right now it just seems like we should continue just playing these like either Fitz or Bridgewater. Like, I mean, these cheap QBs that are just doing it. I mean, we continue to pay up for these guys, and I just don't know. So
I think what you just said is like the exact opposite.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of quarterbacks. There's Russell Wilson and Mahomes and RIP Dak Prescott
and Josh Allen
and Josh Allen. Yeah, that have been just like complete smash shows and have really separated themselves from the rest of the QB class. So I think every week it's a real challenge to say, do I want to pay up for one of these guys? That was my thing with Dak today. You know, Dak's just been smashing so incredibly hard. Obviously, they've been trailing a lot, so you know he's going to have more volume than usual. But yeah, I mean, those mid-level quarterbacks are like very hard to play. I think like you either want to go up or stay down, but in the middle, like it's kind of a tough option.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of think that with these quarterbacks putting up, and the context of this slate, by the way, might be different because Mahomes is not on it, Dak is not on it, Josh Allen is not going to be on it, Russell Wilson is not on it. So I think the context of this slate coming up in week 6 might be different, but I think when all of those guys are on the slate, I think that, doing something like playing Fitzpatrick is actually not optimal.
Well, I mean, because usually quarterback scoring is so bunch, but like these guys are on like immense, like record-setting paces, right? And so you can actually get like jacked up at the quarterback position in a way that you haven't really in the last couple of years besides Lamar Jackson and Mahomes 2 years ago.
Yeah, Mahomes. I mean, but right now, other than Mahomes, nobody feels like other than, I mean, because on that slate, there's not going to be anybody. So I think you're going to.
Yeah, I'm almost certainly going to play Fitzpatrick next week. I can call it right now.
Yeah. What did Gaskin end up with?
Dude, Gaskin smash, bro.
Did he?
Remember when I said I should play Gaskin?
Yeah, you should have. Yeah, he had a pretty big smash game. Let me pull this up, like
because Gaskin honestly gets volume. It's not.
Well, they made Jordan Howard inactive for this game too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hot.
He had 16 for 57. Breida had 9 carries. Lynn Bowden Jr. had 3. Then he had 5 targets, 5 receptions, 34 yards, only 1 target for Breida, and then 1 target to the fullback.
I mean, yeah, 16 rushing attempts with 5 targets is not bad at 5K and below.
Yeah. I mean, it's
better than David Johnson for sure, Nate. I agree.
Okay, so after seeing the Kareem Hunt workload today, like until the fourth quarter, it was like 19 carries to him and like 3 to Dearness Johnson. They're playing on the road at the Steelers next week. If he's 6,700, is he a play or is it just like no thanks against the Steelers?
I mean, I think he's a play. I just thought that Johnson would be more involved. Didn't you? Or no?
No, I played him. I played Hunt and Cash on both sides. I thought he was the smash.
Yeah, no. I mean, nobody's ever heard of Dearness Johnson before last week. Like
Dearness Johnson ran a 4.86 40, Nate.
Not fast.
Not
and
fast.
Kareem Hunt is like talent-wise, like definitely a top 10 running back in this league. And he can catch, like he's multifaceted. He's just super good. Like he's gonna be the guy there.
And they paid him too.
Yeah, and they paid him.
Yeah. Well,
and I mean, the Steelers game is. I mean, this is a big game. The Steelers are 4-0. The Browns are 3-1 or 4-1, right? This is like in the context of the NFL season. This is an extremely key game for both of these teams. So you can bet that they're going to be going all out.
That's actually a very good point. That like if this game is close, we're not getting Dearness Johnson dump offs. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's this is actually going to be a huge decision point in terms of the efficiency versus total volume stuff. David Montgomery against the Panthers. I mean, dust bucket Montgomery, but he is out there on every snap.
It's either him or
this is an
CPAC.
opportunity for you to ruin your own brand, Davis. I'm excited.
No,
I
Davis,
mean,
the play next week is CPAT. You get
I mean, I'll sprinkle.
sprinkle some CPAT and Bears DST stacks.
I mean, he had 10 running back carries. CP had 3, no other carries for the Bears. Montgomery had 8 targets. That was second on the team. That was more than Jimmy Graham, more than Darnell Mooney, more than Mooney and Graham combined. So like, and no other running back targets. Like, David Montgomery is a straight up workhorse running back, and he's going to play against this Panthers defense that just made Todd Gurley look like Gale Sayers.
Yeah, that's actually.
I mean, depending on how much he costs, man, he's getting to work.
I hope he's expensive.
If you play Montgomery and you don't play DJ the week before, like.
I hope. Well, David Montgomery still is like he's got some wiggle. Like he's not fast.
The Texans had a 30-point team total. The Bears have never had a 30-point team total in the last 5 years.
They'll have like a 25-point team total probably. The thing is team totals are all out of whack this year because Vegas is just like, we don't know, 58 points. Like because the totals are way off. Like for the first 3 weeks of the season, like overs were like 65%.
Yeah. Vegas did not properly account for what was going to happen when pretty much everybody knew.
Well, what's happening? Not
against Vegas more often than not, though, you will lose. So
sure, but there's things that are just hard to account for. Like it, and that's not even saying that you should bet all these overs blindly, but like. Just the fact that they're like not calling offensive holding, like holding is down, like it's like the least amount of holds per game that has ever been called.
Yeah, the Steelers just had their first holding call of the year today.
Yeah,
it's crazy. But
like
but they're taking a bunch of touchdowns off the board. Do you think Vegas called down to the NFL front office? They're like, "Yo, dude, you gotta start calling some touchdowns back."
We're getting killed.
Like, there is some big tilt reversal touchdown today. There was the Ingram touchdown, the Slayton touchdown. There's a Tyreek Hill touchdown. There's a CH touchdown. Like, I'm sure there was more that I'm not even thinking about. They were calling all sorts of stuff back, dude. It's a scam.
Sammy, are you is Juju officially dead?
Yes.
You can never play him.
Oh, he never again. I mean, maybe when he's like 4,200.
Dude, I told you, Nate, Juju's like the best beta receiver in the league, but he needs an alpha out there. And again, there is an alpha, and it's Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool completely balled out today. Like, did you see the guy who took down the spy played Claypool and his flex? It was just like,
yeah, he's a sicko.
100K to the face because you played Chase Claypool, which I mean, I can't imagine he would have had such a big role if Deontay Johnson didn't get hurt again.
You know what? I don't know, man. I think that because it looked like they were calling stuff specifically for him, like those runs. Those runs look like that was like, this is our Chase Claypool package.
Yeah, so they did a run to him that got him a touchdown, and then they did a wide receiver screen that was called for him for a touchdown. But then he also got a couple. I think both of them were like deep out of the slot.
If Deontay was not in, this is not a Chase Claypool game. You guys are.
I think he would have done well, but 4 touchdowns, almost certainly not.
If Deontay plays, Chase Claypool gets 3 targets here.
Yeah, I mean Claypool's good, dude. He balled out in college, and the Steelers made it a point to get him, and they like what he did, and Steelers just keep printing. But I mean Juju, like you would have thought that they manufacture some of this stuff for Juju, like the end around. Like Juju's a tough guy. And he can break tackles and stuff like that. They didn't do it. Like some of this slot stuff, Juju wasn't in the slot. Like he's out there blocking. It's like a freaking tight end. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's tilting.
He's like out there lead blocking for Ray McLeod.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Ray McLeod balled out. I mean, literally, like my comp for Juju, and people will hate this, is Hines Ward. It's like, dude, Hines Ward was a good player too, but he's the tough guy. He goes out there and does the dirty work.
Dude, this is like making me so sad because I loved Juju, man. He was so great.
Too. I love him too, but I mean, we can't like act like what's happened for the last year and a half didn't happen.
I'm gonna be like your number one wide receiver in Dynasty for like You were so high on Juju.
And DJ Moore.
Well, DJ Moore, I don't think is dust.
It's CD now. CD's like
CD's
just go and get him.
This whole rookie class is insane.
Yeah, dude, Jefferson is balling out, bro.
I would be sending
Cook's back on the field now, I think.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I really didn't want to have to decide on like $6,700 Alexander Madison, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because remember when this happened before, and then Mike Boone just like smashed,
Yes.
just like crushed. Yeah.
Yeah, but then Mike Boone chalk week fizzled out. Week 16 last year.
Yeah, Amir Abdullah and CJ Ham were getting touches.
Yeah, it's a tough scene.
Tough scenes. All right, boys. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
We got anything else?
Let's go enjoy our money. This is great.
Yeah, I'm
You're gonna hate this show.
Oh, no, we got in some arguments. We made fun of Sammy for playing Dalton Schultz. You refused to take an L. So it was good and on brand, I think.
Yeah, we had some good games.
Yeah. All right, everyone, thank you very much for listening to the Gillcast. We will be back next week.